There's a moment every man faces in his life, when someone from the past suddenly returns. She left you once, for someone else, and now she's back. But the real question isn't, does she still want you? It's, will you abandon who you've become just to feel wanted again? In today's video on Stoic Station, we're diving deep into that moment, the emotional pull, the silent hope, the hard truths. You'll hear the story of a man named Lucas and the quiet strength it takes to say no, even when your heart wants to say yes. We'll explore how to recognize emotional games, how to stay grounded in your growth, and why choosing yourself isn't ego, it's evolution. If you're a man who's healing, growing, and refusing to be anyone's second option ever again, this video was made for you. So if that speaks to where you are right now, consider subscribing to Stoic Station, where we don't chase closure, we become it. Let's begin. 1. Some people come back, not because they miss you, but because they miss the option of you. There's a difference between missing someone and missing the feeling they once gave you. When she reappears in your life after months, or even a year, of silence, it's easy to believe it's because something meaningful resurfaced in her heart. Maybe she thought about the way you looked at her like she was the only one in the room. Maybe she remembered the calm in your voice, the steadiness of your presence. Maybe, finally, she realized you were the one who truly cared. But more often than not, that's not why she comes back. The truth is, she didn't message you because her heart was aching with nostalgia. She messaged you because something in her world isn't working anymore. The man she chose instead, he might have lost interest. The relationship she prioritized, maybe it turned cold. And now, as she feels the emptiness of a fading connection, she begins to look backward, to the comfort of what used to be available, easy and safe. And you, without even knowing it, have become an echo of that safety. See, some people don't like closing doors. They prefer to leave them slightly open, a small crack of possibility, just in case the path they chose doesn't lead where they hoped. They don't say goodbye with finality. They say it with a question mark. They want the comfort of knowing you're still there, somewhere, ready to answer if they ever knock again. This is why her message doesn't say, "I'm sorry." It doesn't say, "I made a mistake." It simply says, "Hey, how have you been?" Harmless on the surface, but underneath, it's a fishing line. She's not necessarily reaching out because she's realized you were the right one all along. She's reaching out because she's unsure of what she has now, and she remembers that you once made her feel something warm, stable, and certain. That memory becomes a lifeline, not out of love, but out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of letting go of someone who might still be willing to stay. But here's where clarity must meet emotion. You can't afford to confuse her uncertainty with your destiny. Because there are two types of people in love. The first are those who close one chapter before beginning another. They don't entertain old flames while in a new relationship. They don't use people as placeholders. They leave with honesty and return, if ever, with clarity. The second, they move through connection like they're walking on stepping stones, never fully letting go, just lightly stepping away, keeping you close enough to reach, but far enough to not commit. So when she comes back, understand what that knock might really mean. It may not be a call for reconciliation. It might be a quiet test to see if you're still where she left you, and the man you've become since then needs to decide if he still wants to be. Second real story, a man named Lucas. Lucas was 38, a quiet man with kind eyes and a calm presence. He lived just outside Austin, in a modest apartment filled with second-hand books, good coffee, and Miles Davis vinyls spinning softly in the background most mornings. He taught literature at the local high school, the kind of teacher who remembered his students' dreams better than their grades. His life wasn't flashy, but it was full, intentional, steady. One spring, he met Claire. She was luminous in that way certain people are, not because of how she looked, but because of how curious she was. Their first 2 dates felt like slow magic, deep conversations over rooftop wine, shared silence that didn't feel awkward, but safe. Lucas felt something rare, a quiet certainty that he could let his guard down, that maybe, just maybe, this could be the beginning of something real. But then, without warning, Claire pulled away. She told him she had reconnected with someone from her past, someone she wasn't fully over. She said it gently, even kindly, but the message was clear. She was choosing someone else. Lucas didn't argue. He didn't send paragraphs of what-ifs or try to win her over. Instead, he did what only strong men do when faced with loss. He let her go. Not with resentment, but with respect. He moved forward, quietly. He went back to his morning runs, his jazz records, his students, and though her absence lingered, he didn't try to fill the space with noise. He simply lived through it. Then, nearly a year later, Claire returned. Her message was casual but familiar. She missed their conversations, said things hadn't worked out the way she thought, that maybe if he was open to it, they could catch up. Lucas felt the pull. His heart still remembered the rooftop laughter, the way she listened, the way she made the air feel lighter. But time had changed him. He had healed, not just from her leaving, but from the idea that someone else needed to choose him in order for him to be whole. So he asked one simple question. Have you ended things with him completely? She paused, the kind of pause that says more than any answer ever could. Then she said, "It's complicated." Lucas didn't need to hear anything else. He smiled, gently but with unwavering clarity, and replied, "I wish you nothing but peace. But I'm not a second option. I'm not someone you circle back to when things get hard. I'm someone you choose with certainty, or not at all." He said it without bitterness, without ego, just truth. And that was the end, not of love, but of longing, not of hope, but of holding on. Lucas didn't win the girl that day, but he walked away with something far greater, himself. 3. When she's vague, hesitant, and not sure yet, believe her. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes not from rejection, but from uncertainty, from the blurred lines, the delayed replies, the open-ended answers that leave you more confused than connected. When a woman says, "I'm not sure yet," it's tempting to lean in closer, to wait, to hope, to think that maybe, with enough patience, clarity will come. But the truth is, hesitation speaks. It speaks volumes, and often it's saying exactly what we don't want to hear. If she's still entangled in another relationship, still unsure whether to let go of someone else, still living in the gray area between past and present, that's not your space to enter. No matter how much you care, no matter how much potential you think the two of you have, you cannot build something stable on ground that hasn't been cleared. Her indecision isn't an opportunity for you to prove your worth. It's a sign that her heart isn't ready, and you deserve more than to be someone's emotional placeholder. We often lie to ourselves in those moments. We tell ourselves she just needs time, that she's overwhelmed, that life is complicated, and maybe all of that is true. But complexity doesn't justify confusion, nor does it make your waiting any more noble. Because while you're holding space for her, you're silently shrinking yourself, pausing your own momentum in the hope that she'll finally step toward you. But someone who truly wants you doesn't send mixed signals. They don't leave you guessing. They don't make you read between the lines or decode vague responses. When a woman is ready, Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she shows up with presence, not hesitation. "I'm not sure yet" isn't an invitation for you to try harder. It's a boundary disguised as possibility. And if you cross it thinking you can change her mind, you'll only lose yourself in the process. The hard truth is this: you're not supposed to convince someone to love you. You're not here to compete with ghosts or wait on someone to finish chapters that don't include you. You're here to meet someone who is emotionally available, someone who has done their inner work, who has let go of what no longer serves them, and who looks at you with both feet planted and no reservations. So when she's vague, believe her. When she's hesitant, respect it. Don't spin confusion into hope. Let her figure things out, on her own time, in her own story. But don't let that story bleed into yours. Because the man you are becoming deserves a woman who doesn't hesitate when she sees you. She chooses you without needing to look back. 4. Her return is not your redemption, it's your test. When she reaches out again, after the silence, after the distance, after choosing someone else, it's easy to feel like it means something, like maybe the story isn't over, like perhaps the universe has circled back to give you another shot, a second chance to rewrite what once slipped through your fingers. But here's the deeper truth, one that takes real emotional maturity to accept. Her return is not the grand gesture you've been waiting for. It's not the proof that you were worthy all along. It's not redemption. It's a test. It's a test of who you've become since the first time she left, a test of how well you've healed, a test of whether you now love yourself enough to protect your peace, even from the person you once wanted most. When someone reappears in your life after walking away, the question is no longer, "Does she like me?" The question becomes, "Will I abandon myself again just to feel chosen?" Because that's what this is really about. Not her, but you, your standards, your emotional boundaries, your sense of value. Will you quiet your instincts just because she says she's confused? Will you delay your healing just because she's unsure? Will you open the same door that hurt you the first time, hoping that this time she'll finally walk through it with both feet? Or will you choose to stay rooted in the man you've become, a man who doesn't beg for affection, a man who no longer sees love as something to earn by waiting in uncertainty, a man who understands that if someone couldn't see your worth then, they don't deserve your surrender now? Because here's what no one tells you. Growth doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes closure comes in the form of restraint, in the quiet, firm decision to not go back to what once broke you. And it's not about bitterness. You don't need to punish her. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be cold or cruel. In fact, the greatest sign of your growth is that you can respond with kindness and still walk away with conviction. You see, strength isn't loud. It doesn't need to make a scene. Real strength is quiet and clear. It says, "I wish you peace, but I've worked too hard to lose mine." The man you're becoming, the one who has faced his loneliness, questioned his worth, and stood up again after falling. That man doesn't chase maybe. He doesn't entertain confusion. He doesn't trade his clarity for someone else's crisis. So if she comes back, recognize it for what it is. Not a rescue, not a revival, not your reward, but a chance, a sacred opportunity to show yourself that this time you choose you. 5. Don't let the past interrupt the man you're becoming. There's a moment in every man's life when the past comes knocking, not as a ghost, but as something familiar, tempting, even comforting. It might show up in the form of a text from someone who once made your heart beat faster, or a voice that once felt like home suddenly asking how you've been, and in that moment, everything you've built in silence, the healing, the discipline, the growth, will be tested by a memory dressed up as possibility. But here's what you must remember. Familiarity is not the same as alignment. Just because something feels known doesn't mean it belongs in the future you're working so hard to create. You've been on a path. You've been rebuilding yourself, maybe from heartbreak, maybe from disappointment, maybe from the slow erosion of who you used to be. You've started showing up differently. You've learned to enjoy your own company. You've discovered strength in solitude and clarity in quiet. You've begun to walk through life with more intention, less noise. And now, she's back. Or maybe it's not even about her. Maybe it's what she represents. A chapter you thought was closed. A version of yourself that still wonders, what if? A longing that softened with time and made her return feel like a sign. But ask yourself honestly, is her reappearance a reflection of your evolution or a ripple from her own unraveling? Claire didn't come back because Lucas became irresistible overnight. She came back because something in her life fell apart, and Lucas had remained steady in her memory, warm, constant, safe. But Lucas didn't confuse that for love. He didn't mistake her uncertainty for fate. He had grown too much to shrink again. He didn't break just because her world did. He stood tall, respectful, clear, and quietly said no to the very thing he once thought he wanted. That's what makes a man unshakable. Not that he never feels the pull of the past, but that he no longer lets it steer the course of his life, because growth is sacred. The man you're becoming is not built in grand moments. He's shaped in the small, consistent choices to honor your peace, your boundaries, your vision. Letting someone back into your life should never come at the cost of all you've fought to heal. So when the past returns, and it will, pause, breathe, look around at the life you're building, the values that now guide you, the self-respect that's no longer negotiable. And remember, not every knock needs to be answered. Not every echo deserves your attention. Some things are meant to be left where they belong, in the past. Because the man you're becoming, he's no longer waiting for someone to choose him. He's too focused on choosing himself. Personal reflection. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. There's something quietly transformative about realizing that not everyone who comes back into your life deserves a seat in it. For years, I believed that if someone returned, it meant something was still there. Unfinished business, unresolved love, a chapter left open for a reason. But I've come to see it differently now. Some people don't return out of love. They return out of uncertainty, out of boredom, out of loneliness. And sometimes they come back not because they truly miss you, but because they miss the version of themselves they once were when they had you. Claire wasn't the villain in Lucas's story. She didn't intentionally hurt him. But her return wasn't about reconnection. It was about reassurance. And Lucas, instead of interpreting that knock as fate, saw it for what it was, a test. A moment to either abandon his progress or protect his peace. He chose the latter, and that choice didn't just reveal his growth, it solidified it. Too many men get caught in the cycle of waiting to be chosen. They silence their instincts, suppress their discomfort, and convince themselves that someone's hesitation is worth tolerating because the potential feels so rare. But clarity is never found in uncertainty, and the longer you sit in the grey, the more you start to forget your own worth. The truth is, we don't heal so someone will come back. We heal so we won't lose ourselves again if they do. You see, love should never make you feel like an option. The right woman won't need convincing. She won't breadcrumb you with attention or test how far you're willing to bend. She will arrive with clarity. She'll make you feel chosen, not chased. So here's my advice to every man reading this. When the past resurfaces, pause. Don't react out of nostalgia. Don't interpret their return as destiny. Ask yourself, am I responding from hope or from healing? Let that be your compass. If you've been healing, keep healing. If you've been building, don't let old stories interrupt your foundation. If you've grown into a man who values peace over potential, choose yourself again, and again, and again. Because the most powerful love you'll ever experience is the love you give yourself when you decide that your worth is no longer up for negotiation. Not everyone who knocks is meant to be let in. Some are just reminders of how far you've come, and the man you're becoming. He doesn't wait to be chosen anymore. He chooses, intentionally, calmly, and without apology, the life that honors who he's worked so hard to become. Final thought: the woman who's meant for you won't make you feel like an option. There comes a time in every man's life when he must stop chasing answers from the past and begin honoring the man he has become. That moment often arrives quietly, not in grand decisions, but in the subtle recognition that your peace is no longer up for compromise. The woman who is meant for you will not leave you wondering. She won't create distance just to test how far you'll reach. She won't offer crumbs of connection while keeping one foot in another story. You won't have to decode her words or guess what her silences mean. Her energy will feel like certainty, not confusion. And when she steps into your life, she will do so with both feet, because she knows what she wants, and she sees what she has found in you. You won't have to audition for her attention. You won't feel like you're on trial for your worth. She'll recognize the strength you've built through hardship, the kind that doesn't scream, but stands quietly. She'll respect the way you carry your scars, not as shame, but as proof of survival. She won't try to bend your boundaries. She'll meet you at them, fully present, ready. That's what real connection feels like: clarity, calm, a sense of safety that doesn't need to be earned through sacrifice. And the older you get, the more you realize that anything less than that is not love. It's noise. And you've outgrown noise. So when she comes back, whoever she is to you, and you feel that familiar pull, the longing wrapped in nostalgia, the quiet voice saying, maybe this time, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself not what she wants, but what you need. Are you responding out of hope, the part of you still clinging to a version of love that hurt? Or are you responding from healing, from the grounded man who no longer negotiates his value for a chance to feel chosen? That question will tell you everything, because healing doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you start loving with wisdom. It means you no longer give the best of you to someone who isn't ready to meet you where you are. So choose the path that honors your growth. Choose the energy that reflects your evolution. Choose the peace you've earned, the kind that doesn't chase love, but waits for it to arrive whole. And if she isn't whole, if she's unsure, inconsistent, still tangled in unfinished stories, then your silence is your answer, not as punishment, but as protection. You are not a backup plan. You are not an afterthought. You are a man who knows his worth, and the woman who is truly meant for you will never make you feel like you have to prove it. Absolutely. Here's a personal reflection and life lesson that encapsulates the entire story arc and emotional journey from all 6 parts you shared, delivered in a heartfelt, grounded and mature tone for a man in his mid-30s to early 40s. If this message spoke to something inside you, if you've ever felt the weight of uncertainty, the sting of being someone's second choice, or the strength it takes to finally choose yourself, then know this: you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're evolving. At Stoic Station, we create content not to help you chase validation, but to help you return to your center, to stand firm in who you are, to live, love, and lead with clarity, strength, and peace. If you found value in this video, consider subscribing to Stoic Station. We're building a space for men who are done chasing and ready to rise. And remember, You don't need to be chosen to know your worth. You just need to stop forgetting it. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, choose yourself.